If your air compressor is doing this, we can show you how to diagnose that and probably fix it. So as you can see, as soon as it tried to start, it couldn't quite get up to speed before it kicked out the circuit breaker. So let's haul this air compressor out in the open where we can get a good look at it and find out what's going on. This is a 5 horsepower twin cylinder air compressor. Now I've already had the belt off this and I've rotated the compressor to make sure it's not binding up and it's fine. So the problem we're having is definitely within the motor itself. So there's 2 capacitors on this motor, a run capacitor and a start capacitor. So what I want to do is check out to see if these capacitors are the problem or not. So I'm just going to remove the screws to get these capacitors out in the open and we'll do some tests. So these back screws I just have to loosen. The front ones I'll have to remove completely. Now I'm just going to pop these capacitors right out of the casing. So if you've never worked with electric motors or capacitors, capacitors basically stores electricity for a brief period of time and then releases it, and it keeps doing that over and over again. So anytime you're dealing with a capacitor, most capacitors will, when they've been sitting, will drain off their charge, others won't. So there is the potential that these 2 capacitors may still have a full charge, and you do not want to be touching those connections unless those capacitors have been discharged. And it's very easy to do. All you need is an insulated screwdriver or pair pliers or whatever. But all you want to do is just put that metal screwdriver across the 2 leads, just like that, so that they're making a connection. If the capacitor is charged, you may see a blue spark or you may hear a bit of a snap or an arc as that electricity is being discharged. And you'd want to do that to both capacitors. So the next thing we want to do is remove one of the leads from the capacitor. Doesn't matter which one. And now I just need my multimeter. So I'm just going to set my continuity down to about an R times 10. I'm just going to touch my leads together so I know that my meter is working. And you'll see that the needle swings across, basically showing a completed circuit. Now taking my leads, I'm going to put one lead on one set of terminals and my other lead on the other one and watch and see what the meter does. What I expect to see is that needle should deflect over and then drop back. So let's see if that happens. So you could see that was very quick, but it went up and then it came back down again. I'm just going to change my setting to see if I can get a little bit more range on that so you can see it better. There we go. So basically what's happening, I'm taking the battery that's in the meter and I'm charging the capacitor with that voltage from the battery, and then I'm going to reverse my leads and do the same thing again, and it should swing just a little bit faster, a little harder, and then drop back again. So this capacitor tests fine. If I was to do this test and my meter was to show no deflection whatsoever, the needle never moved, then I would know that this capacitor is open and would have to be replaced. So this capacitor checks fine. Let's check the other one. I'll just pull a wire off one side and I've already discharged it. Okay, so I'm just going to put my leads and my meter on the terminals. So I do have a circuit. It charged the capacitor, but you'll see the needle has not dropped back. It's not discharging the charge. And I'm just going to reverse them and see if I'm getting the same thing. And again, the needle deflected all the way over, so it charged the capacitor, but it's not discharging. So as you can see, this capacitor is shorted and it needs to be replaced. So I'm just going to take the other lead off of this capacitor, and now I just have to order another capacitor for it. And if you're wondering what to order, you'll find on the capacitor there's always a tag that has all the information about it. It'll have what its capacitance is in microfarads. In this case it's 40, plus or minus 6. It'll also tell you what the frequency that it runs at and what voltage. So taking that information, you want to go shopping and find that information for your replacement capacitor, even though it may come a little different size. You want to try and get the same size as this one, whereas it fits into a can. But other capacitors that are mounted or just clamped to the side without a cover, just a rubber boot over the wiring, you don't have to worry about size so much. But if it's going into a metal can like this one, you want to make sure you're getting the same size and that this information is the same. So it just so happens I do have a new capacitor here that we're going to put in place. So there's our new capacitor. So just before I install it, I'm going to do the same test on it that I did on the failed one, and you'll be able to see what the difference is. Take our leads of our meter, put them on one terminal and then the other, and watch the meter, and we'll see that deflection. And you can see that it charged and discharged. And before, our other capacitor would simply swing the needle over hard and leave it there. So we're going to connect the wires to this capacitor, put it back inside the casing. Put the other capacitor back inside its case and re-secure it. Okay, our new capacitor is installed. Let's plug it in and give it a test. Fantastic. So let's just review quickly. We had a motor that wouldn't start. We did our diagnostics. And now I just need my multimeter. So I do have a circuit. It charged the capacitor, but you'll see the needle has not dropped back. It's not discharging the charge. Found the capacitor was bad, got a new one, and now I just have to order another capacitor for it. And if you're wondering what to order, you'll find on the capacitor there's always a tag that has all the information about it. Installed it and just did a test run. So you can see just how easy it is. A lot of people would just run out and buy a motor or decide maybe I'm just going to buy a new compressor when all it needed was just that capacitor. So a little bit of time, make sure you discharge that capacitor before you test it. Do your testing. If it's bad, replace it, and chances are your air compressor is going to be just fine.